Imagine waking up not to the sound of an alarm clock, but to the distant roar of a saber-toothed predator echoing through the valley. No walls, no roof, just the open sky above and the cold, damp earth beneath you. The air is thick with the scent of wild grass and danger. You're not watching a movie, you're living it. This is not a dream, this is life. 4.7 million years ago, before fire, before language, before the wheel, there were humans, not like us, not yet, but close enough to feel the same hunger, the same fear, the same desperate will to survive. They didn't have names, they didn't have history books, but they had stories, etched into the bones they left behind, whispered through the tools they carved, and buried in the soil that still remembers them. This is the story of survival, not of kings or empires, but of barefoot wanderers who stared into the eyes of extinction and refused to blink. Our journey begins in the heart of East Africa, where the earth cracked open to reveal fossils that changed everything. Among them, Australopithecus remedus, a name that sounds like a spell, but marks one of our earliest known ancestors. She stood just over 4 feet tall, walked upright, and lived in a world where every step could be her last. Her kind didn't build cities or write songs, but they walked, they climbed, they adapted, and in doing so, they laid the first stones on the path to humanity. Life was unforgiving. The climate was volatile, swinging between lush forests and arid plains. Water was scarce. Food was never guaranteed. Every day was a gamble. But Ardi and her kin had something special. They had curiosity. They had community. They had the beginnings of what we now call culture. Picture this: a group of early hominids huddled together under a canopy of trees. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of blood and fire. The night brings silence, then the rustle of leaves. A predator lurks, but the group doesn't scatter. They stay close. They protect each other. In that moment, survival isn't just about strength. It's about connection. They didn't speak in words, but they spoke in gestures, in glances, in the rhythm of shared movement. They learned from each other how to find edible roots, how to crack nuts with stones, how to climb trees fast enough to escape danger. These weren't just instincts, they were lessons, passed down, remembered, evolved. And then came fire. Not yet, not for millions of years. But the spark was there, not in flame, but in thought. The idea that one could shape the world, not just endure it. That a stick could be a tool. That a rock could be a weapon. That survival wasn't just about reacting. It was about planning. We find evidence of this in the tools they left behind. Simple, yes, but revolutionary. Sharp flakes of stone used to cut meat, scrape hides, dig into the earth. These tools weren't just objects. They were extensions of the mind. Proof that these early humans weren't just surviving. They were innovating. But innovation came at a cost. As hominids ventured further from the forests into open savannas, they faced new threats. Bigger predators, harsher climates, isolation. The safety of trees gave way to the vulnerability of open ground. And yet, they kept moving. Why? Because survival demanded it. Because the world was changing, and they had to change with it. This is where we meet Australopithecus afarensis, Lucy. She lived around 3.2 million years ago, but her story begins here. She walked upright, had a brain slightly larger than Ardi's, and lived in small social groups. Her footprints, preserved in volcanic ash, tell us she walked with others, not alone, never alone. That's the secret, isn't it? Survival wasn't a solo act. It was a symphony of cooperation, of shared risk, of mutual care. When one fell sick, others stayed close. When danger approached, they warned each other. When food was found, it was shared. Not because they were saints, but because they understood, deeply, instinctively, that together they stood a chance. And then came death. Not the quiet kind, the brutal kind. Bones crushed by predators, skulls pierced by tusks. Lives ended in seconds. But even in death, there was meaning. We find signs that early humans mourned, that they lingered near the bodies of their dead, that they remembered, that they grieved. This emotional depth, this capacity to feel beyond the moment, is what set them apart. It's what made them human, even before the word existed. As time passed, their brains grew, their tools improved, their range expanded. They crossed rivers, climbed mountains, braved deserts. They didn't know where they were going, but they went anyway. Because survival wasn't just about staying alive, it was about moving forward. And then, somewhere along the way, they began to shape the world around them. They built shelters from branches and leaves. They used fire to cook, to warm, to protect. They painted on cave walls, not just to decorate, but to communicate, to remember, to dream. These weren't just survival tactics, they were the birth of culture, of identity, of humanity. So when we ask, how did prehistoric humans survive to sustain life? The answer isn't simple. It's layered, it's emotional, it's cinematic. They survived by adapting, by connecting, by imagining. They survived by walking into the unknown, again and again, with nothing but hope and each other. And now, millions of years later, we walk in their footsteps. We build on their legacy. We carry their stories, not in our bones, but in our hearts. Because life 4.7 million years ago wasn't just about survival. It was about becoming.